Hi everybody and welcome to Smash Exams. In this video we're going to be talking about what to expect in the speaking test. We're going to be looking at what happens before the test, like how you go into the room and how you sit down. We're going to talk about what the test is about, all three parts, and then how the test ends. A lot of students get a bit worried when they don't know what to expect. So in this video we're going to go through all of those things. Let's get started. You arrive at the test, you go in and you sit in a room outside where your test is going to be. Just sit and wait until the examiner comes to get you. Don't go into the room. You might see someone coming out of the room and think, oh, it's my turn to go in. Don't, just sit there quietly, just wait. The examiner will come and get you. They'll come and they'll invite you into the room. So you get up, follow them into the room, maybe just say hi, good morning, good afternoon. Don't ask any questions, just say hi, how are you? And then follow them in and sit down. Some examiners get a little bit uncomfortable if you ask them questions before it starts. They have quite a tight schedule, so just be friendly, but walk straight in. When you're in the room, sit down, put your ID card or your passport on the table. And before the test officially starts, an examiner might ask you your name or what to call you. Don't worry, this is not part of the test. You'll know when the test is going to start. The examiner will then start the test by saying, this is the speaking test for the International English Language Testing System. And then it'll say your name, the candidate number, the centre number, and then the examiner's name and their number. Don't ignore it. But then eventually, after all that bureaucracy or all that housekeeping, they will say, good morning or good afternoon. My name is examiner. Can you tell me your full name, please? Again, this isn't the full test, okay? Don't start talking about yourself at this point. Just say what your name is. And they might ask you what to call you, so you can say a shortened version of your name if you want. The moment the test begins, the examiner will say something like, now, in this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself, and this is the official start of the test. This is where we go, and we go straight into part one. So in part one, it's usually about 5 minutes and they're going to ask you 3 sets of questions of about 4 questions each. They'll all be about you, your interests, your hobbies, and what you think about the world. Now, the first set of questions will be the easiest. There'll be 4 questions and they'll either be about your home, your hometown, your work and what you do, or your study. I have a video about each one of these topics. Check in the description to have a look at the videos where we go through vocabulary and such. The next part is a little bit harder, okay? The second and third sets of 4 questions will be about random things, such as the weather, clothes, hobbies, your routines, art, books, whatever it is. And again, if you look in the description, I'm going to put a whole list of topics that could come up. Basically, the examiner will be asking you questions and just maybe answer 2 or 3 sentences about each one. Some top tips for part 1. Don't ask the examiner any questions back. When they ask you, oh, what is your hometown like? Don't say, oh yeah, it's really nice. How about your hometown? Because it's not a conversation, it's a test. And also the examiner will be a little bit awkward or maybe embarrassed. They just don't like it. So just answer the questions and don't ask anything back. The next tip is, a lot of students don't know this, but you can ask the examiner to repeat the question. Don't ask them to change the question or explain it, but you could say, can you ask that question again? I didn't quite understand. You could also ask the examiner what certain words mean. So if they say something like, tell me about your ancestors, you can say, what do you mean by ancestors? And then they will say, older people in your family. But they cannot change the question. Make sure you do ask them though, because if you don't understand, it's better to ask. Finally, speak naturally. Don't memorize answers for every question. A lot of students do this. They will find a list in the description. They'll find a list of all the different topics and they will plan their answer for each question. This makes you sound unnatural and it sounds a bit like a robot. Don't do it. The examiner will know and he will know that you've pre-prepared the answer for the questions. Just learn some vocabulary and speak naturally. The way to practice speaking naturally is speak to a friend, practice in a mirror, maybe record yourself and play it back so you can practice that way. Best way is with a friend, or even better, if you can afford it, an IELTS tutor. You then go into part 2. Part 2 is often called the long turn and it lasts around 2 or 3 minutes. So what happens in the long turn? You'll be given a topic card or a cue card that looks something like this, where you describe something and it'll have 3 bullet points and they'll give you maybe 1 minute to plan your answer. You'll also be given a pen and paper but basically they'll give you a card. In that 1 minute, you have 3 or 4 bullet points. You can write on it, you can make your plan. They always have the same format. For example, here, describe your favorite animal or describe a historical place. Okay, and once you've got the card, you have 1 minute to plan your answers. Best way to plan your answers is think quickly what your favorite animal is. In this case, describe the animal and why do you like the animal. So just put little notes on your card or next to the card of what you want to say. This will help you sound confident and it will impress the examiner. You need to speak for between 1 and 2 minutes. Aim for at least 1.5 minutes, but the examiner will ask you some follow-up questions if you're under 1.5 minutes, which is fine, but it's better if you can keep speaking because this is your first chance to talk for a long time without any interruptions. It shows that you can develop a topic in your ideas and it shows that you can speak fluently for longer sentences. Here's some tips for part 2. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I'm doing lots of videos on the speaking task at the moment. You can also see all the writing tasks. The more people like and subscribe, the more traffic I get to my channel and the more people I can help. So please do me a favor, like, subscribe, hit the notification. Let's get on with the tips. The first tip for part 2 of the speaking test is make sure you keep your card with you and you can refer to it when you are speaking. Quite often I've seen students give their card back to the examiner before they start speaking, which is, let's face it, a power move. But it's better to keep it with you so you can refer to your notes. Second tip, I know this is easier said than done, but if you can be confident, it will really help you with your speaking test. Have your first sentence ready. This will help with confidence. So when you have your 1 minute to plan, make sure you write your first sentence on that card and then you can wow the examiner straight away. Again, don't try to memorize a speech on every topic. It will sound rehearsed and it will sound unnatural. However, what you should do is you should find some vocabulary that could come up on any of the questions. Again, check the list in the description for a whole list of topics, but also do not try to memorize phrases above your level. Don't say something like, I felt discombobulated by Wuthering Heights when I read it for the first time, because the examiner, again, he'll know or she'll know your level of English, and if you're saying words like that, they'll know it's rehearsed. So stick to your level, stick to the words you know, don't memorize and try to speak naturally. After this is finished, the examiner won't be speaking, but after your 2 minutes are up, the examiner will then move on to part 3. So what happens in part 3? Have you liked? Have you subscribed? You sure? Okay. In part 3, it's linked to part 2 and it will follow on directly. There's no gap between them. You'll finish the long turn and the examiner will start asking you questions in part 3. Now in part 3 it usually lasts about 4 or 5 minutes and the examiner will freestyle and ask you around 5 or 6 questions. These answers need to be a bit longer than in part 1 and you should try and aim for about 30 to 60 seconds. The questions are made up by the examiner and it could be anything, but it will be linked to your part 2 question. Most of the questions will be things like how has this changed, or why do people do this, or do you agree or disagree with this development? There will be conversational questions where he'll ask your opinion on things. Maybe what are the disadvantages and advantages of? Okay, so again, it'll be how and why questions. And really this is just a natural conversation. It's very hard to predict what's going to happen because, like I said, there's no script. The examiner will generally make up the questions. Some tips for part 3, and this is crucial: practice having conversations with your friends in English. The more you speak English, the better you get at it, the more confident you become, and also it helps remember the grammar the more you practice. Also, try to develop your answers. So in part 3, when the examiner asks you the question, give your opinion and then give a reason for your opinion and then give an example to back it up. And that's it. So you'll have 5 or 6 questions, 5 minutes, and then the test will be finished. At the end of the test, the examiner will say to you, thank you very much. That is the end of the test. He or she will probably stand up and politely ask you to leave the room. That's it. Don't ask how you did. Don't say, oh, how was it? What level am I? Just leave. Again, they're very busy. So when the examiner says, thank you very much, that's the end of the test, just walk out the door, leave. Maybe you can say bye, but that's all. Say, it was nice to meet you, have a good day, whatever you want to do. And then after you're outside, punch the air because you've finished, or have a breakdown, but you're done. That's it, finished. Try not to worry about it too much. You did the best that you could, and all you need to do now is wait for the results. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. There's many more speaking videos coming, and if you subscribe to the channel and you hit the notification, you'll be alerted whenever I put a new video out there. Thanks for watching, and smash those exams. Before you go, make sure to check out one of these videos or this playlist, and again, here is the button to subscribe. Hope to see you in the next video. Good luck. Goodbye for now.